Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm seeing. So Jianggan, shall we start, Jianggan? It's good.
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Momentum Works 2021 predictions for Southeast Asia and Chuhai. Whilst we're waiting for more people to come, I just want to say welcome and good morning. Happy Friday. And for the next 1 hour, we want to go through this 2021 predictions for Southeast Asia and Chuhai with everyone. My name is Yolin. I'm the CEO of Momentum Works, and I have Jianggan here who will run through in more detail. Before that, I'm going to just give a bit of background about Momentum Works. So next. So some of you may know us very well. Some of you may be new to us. So I would like to just maybe set the stage to say that we do blogging. So you must have heard of us maybe from the blog and the newspaper reports that we have. So I think so far we have about thousands of blogs on our Chinese and English website, but we're not a media, even though we've been told we've been assumed that we are. So, but next slide. Actually, we also issue reports on real, actionable insights. So we do have quite a number of reports available. If you're interested, please reach out to us. So some of our reports, the latest one is the food delivery platform that we issued in January and has been getting lots of good review. We just did a talk on this food delivery platform about 2 weeks ago. Maybe some of you were at that event, and if you were not, we will be sharing some of our updates in our blog. And if you want a copy of this report, please reach out to us afterwards. Yeah. Next, Jianggan. So, but actually, the key thing that we want to do is actually we build ventures. So we've actually quite active in the Southeast Asia scene. We have built a fintech in Indonesia, and now we're also building a community as a venture. So events like this is actually one of the ways that we are actually building a community. And we do have an upcoming better kind of stealth venture called Impulso. By Momentum Works, so where we are trying out new, interesting, cool things with the community. So that's something that just akan datang for those who don't know bahasa, right? Or coming soon. Okay, moving on. So and now I would like to introduce the medium, Jianggan. Jianggan, you want to take it over from here? Jianggan, I think you're on mute, Jianggan.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Hi. Some of you already know me. My name is Jianggan. I run Momentum Works since 2017, and before that, I was at Rocket Internet running Easy Taxi and Food Panda, and that was right after my MBA. So, have been in the ecosystem for about 8 years. Have developed I think a healthy sense of cynicism. So I think not too much about myself. I just want to maybe go through the predictions that we are doing. So we got into the prediction business in December 2017, and when we looked at the market, I think Southeast Asia as a whole, started heating up the whole tech ecosystem in 2016 after the acquisition of Lazada by Alibaba. So lots of things started happening, and things became more and more interesting. So in December 2017, we thought, since we have a blog, why don't we just do an exercise to see, what might happen in 2018? So we started, and we made 2 predictions: Southeast Asia and the regions beyond Southeast Asia. And I think over the years we became better and better at doing that. And also even though some of our predictions eventually went wrong, but nevertheless it generated lots of interesting discussions. amongst the community. So we hope that that was our sort of humble contribution. So I think before we got into 2021, let's do a quick review about 2020. So we issued these predictions on the 1st of January 2020, and I think some of you might have already seen it, but here just for you to quickly glance through it, team predictions for Southeast Asia. And here's how they did. So I think we got 9 of them pretty much right. And one of them, which was Korean investors overvalue Vietnamese startups. And I think that was disrupted by COVID. So people couldn't travel. And also because 2019, there was already a lot of investment into Vietnam. So I think things took a bit of pause. But the rest, we got it pretty right. I think some of the trends were accelerated by COVID. And that made our sort of some of the predictions even more precise. But we didn't manage to predict COVID per se. So this is the blog post that I wrote on the 4th of February last year. I think at that time we already sensed that okay, the year was going to be exceptional, and it turned out that way. And at that time we didn't know how to categorize this post, so that's why it was uncategorized. But lots of things changed, and the whole ecosystem I think made a sharp turn. I think at some point in time people were unsure about what was going to happen, and some industries benefited, some companies benefited, while the others struggled. And we also, for the first time in 2020, we predicted about Chuhai. And I think for those who know Chinese, Chuhai is a term which literally means I'm going overseas, and that was the macro trend in the past 5 years as the whole tech scene and internet scene in China was getting a bit more saturated, and lots of businesses, investors, big companies, entrepreneurs are exploring other markets, looking to expand their business model, their experience, as well as sort of some of the learnings that they've taken from the ecosystem in China, of course, backed by lots of capital. We were trying to find a right term for that, but eventually we stuck with Chuhai because we thought that, okay, this is something fairly unique. So we made some predictions about Chuhai in 2020, specifically about some companies like Shein, TikTok, Alibaba, and also about each region. So if you want to, I will not go through the 2020 in too much detail, because that's the year which has already passed, and I think everyone's looking forward to 2021. But if you're interested in some of these points, we can always discuss if we still have time towards the end of this call. And here's how our 2020 predictions for Chuhai performed, and it was not as good as the Southeast Asian ones, and primarily because, I mean, if you look at number 6, 7, 8, people couldn't travel. So lots of activities we thought would happen didn't happen. Nonetheless, let's get into this year. It's interesting. I took this screenshot this morning. These are the most popular posts on our blog, the lowdown, this morning, as of this morning. So it was interesting that there's still quite a bit of interest about Honest Bee. We wrote about this when they opened the big mega sort of superstore, and we sort of said, okay, this business model doesn't make sense. And also you see that lots of other interest about Tokopedia, about Grab, about who are the investors behind Grab, how many unicorns are there in Southeast Asia, will there be more? And also since the second quarter of last year, there's been quite a bit of interest in Shopee versus Lazada. I think I'll go to that in a little bit more detail. Let's look at the predictions for 2021. So team predictions, I will probably use this as the anchor, and if you guys want to zoom into any specific ones, we can focus on that. But basically team predictions about C Group, about Grab, Gojek, about the tech measures, about IPO, Chinese companies, and the trend, the e-commerce ecosystem, which we think has reached a very, very interesting point since the uptake in 2020, and we also had a I would say healthy sense of skepticism about health tech in this region and ed tech. And of course, there was quite a bit of a hype last year because of the COVID, but I think this year things will cool down a little bit. We also expect like more innovative business models to emerge, built on top of sort of what happened last year. We expect finally people are able to travel by the second half of the year. So investors would return to Vietnam and Malaysia, and we think that there'll be more sort of outside interest in Thai ecosystem. One country we didn't mention was the Philippines. This is something that we predicted would take off for a few years, and I think finally in 2020 there was a bit of interest in the fintech space. I mean, beyond the big wallets by big telcos, and there was also quite a bit of interest in e-commerce. So we would see that this year, I think in addition to IPO, investors would explore more creative ways to exit. And for the past like 1 or 2 years, there's lots of interest in raising bigger funds. And we do believe that, I mean, for investors who still have not completely deployed capital raised over the last few years, they will do it in a faster way, so that there's room as well as there is interest for larger funds. So we would expect competition for talent in the region to become more aggressive. And this is something that we already seen, especially with companies like Shopee, right? They're hiring lots of Chinese tech veterans, and this is different from what we saw in 2017 and 2018 when lots of Chinese entrepreneurs entered the region. So which I think we can go through that in a little bit more detail. So that's about Southeast Asia. About Chuhai, or Chinese companies going overseas. So a lot of things happened last year, which interestingly, as a result, towards the end of the year, more interest was directed towards Southeast Asia. I mean, we know that previously there was quite a bit of wave in India, and of course that changed last June because of the border conflict, because of the bans, and also companies started feeling a bit unease with the US, with the TikTok ban, and also the other restrictions and all this geopolitics. So Africa also cooled down. I think some of you might remember earlier last year or the year before, there was lots of interest led by a company called OPay, affiliated to Opera, that was raising lots of money to replicate a Gojek in Nigeria. But I think people now realize that it's far more difficult than they had originally thought, thanks to some infrastructure issues and stage of development. So all these factors coming together, more interest is being channeled towards Southeast Asia. So in our blog, we have a Chinese blog, which is followed by lots of people in China, including the founders of Meituan and ByteDance. And we do see that the people who sort of inquire us about Southeast Asia was actually going up quite a bit, especially towards Q4 last year. That includes entrepreneurs, big companies, and even some of the medium tier companies, as well as some key executives who are looking to say that, okay, Shopee is hiring in China. Should I join Shopee? So there's lots of interest in this region. We see that there's I think this is something related to Southeast Asia as well. Towards the end of last year, there was quite a bit of interest in the whole e-commerce ecosystem. I think that was also because of the rise in e-commerce in 2020. A lot of things which were previously impossible because the volume was too small now became possible. So the business models which are sitting on top of the e-commerce platforms, such as logistics, such as payment is something separate, such as e-commerce enabler, warehousing, cross-border, etc., etc. So lots of them got serious attention by investors as well as entrepreneurs towards the last quarter of the year. We do see about, I think, 4 or 5 companies doing specifically warehouses for cross-border e-commerce into Thailand from China, getting funded by major VCs in China. So that's and some of them, for the case of some of them, the VCs had to fight for the quota to be investing in those companies. So that is creating an interesting wave. I'm pretty sure that friends at Shopee, we're getting lots of inquiries from VCs about the sellers, about the ecosystem. So in addition to that, there's also this B2B and enterprise companies. So I think Singapore attracted a few AI companies from China a few years ago, but that was relatively isolated. But also towards the end of last year and even last month, January 2021, we see lots of companies selling, whether it's software, whether it's SaaS, whether it's software plus hardware, into Southeast Asia from China, actually setting up a presence in the region, and also recruiting teams. And we receive lots of requests for us saying that, hey, can you help us hire people? But our response is that, okay, we're not a headhunter, but we're happy to introduce a few headhunters to you. So we believe that that TikTok would resume its growth path, and I think the worst is already over for them. Although the founder of ByteDance is still not able to travel, and some of you might remember that at the beginning of last year, he made a pledge to travel more in 2020 and handing over the China business to his longtime lieutenants, and while he tries to build ByteDance into a truly global company. I have lots of people, lots of friends working for ByteDance in different countries, as far as Brazil. So the feedback from many of them is that in terms of culture, although ByteDance is still quite Chinese, but I mean, amongst the Chinese companies that they have been exposed to, the culture resembles Silicon Valley the most. So that I mean, also the fact that the TikTok is a platform that attracts the mainstream audience. So that makes the company quite attractive, and I do believe that they are in a good position. Monetization is going on. I think if you use TikTok in your respective countries, you will realize that you start to see ads. I mean, different kinds of ads. So some of them similar to what you see on YouTube. So we do believe that's still in the exploration stage. So companies doing ads on TikTok are more focused on branding rather than performance. Yeah, and the point about Alibaba. Last year, we predicted that Alibaba would consolidate its international operations, not because they had a grand strategy for international business, but because their international business was not doing well. I think we made that prediction beginning of last year. Although we certainly didn't expect the what happened with an IPO and also Jack Ma's disappearance for 2.5 months. But the issue is that I think in international markets there are some inherent issues with the organization, with how decisions are made, with how people are appointed, and how products are localized. So that's something which can't be solved very quickly, unless the leadership has a strong resolve and also the overseas operations are kept relatively separate from the operations in China. So that would probably take a while, especially now they have a big focus on solving the domestic issues. We look at different regions, and I'm not sure how many our audience would be interested in India, but we certainly know that that the Chinese companies are facing a bit of challenge there. The apps are banned, and last month they made this ban permanent. So we would imagine that that things will ease a bit for investment, not for operations. So India might ban the apps of Alibaba. But they might start to welcome Alibaba to invest in Indian companies. But the sense we got from investors there, especially in 2019, is that they start becoming a bit skeptical about the long-term prospects about some of the companies, and also the strategic synergy. So that we expect things to be still cool. Very interesting about Latin America is there's a lot of interest about consumer lending, internet-based consumer lending in Mexico at the moment. Almost like every 2 days, we got people asking us to introduce them to people in Mexico. So that we see as a spillover, or as a result of soft lending companies being sort of banned, outlawed, or not doing well in markets like Indonesia and India. So of course, when these people do the macro assessment, they look at, okay, where do you have people with relatively good income, inadequate lending infrastructure, etc., etc. And for whatever reason, there's lots of interest in Mexico. I think there's even a group of Chinese entrepreneurs, ex-Capital One, building a challenger bank in Mexico, funded by, I think, 3 leading Chinese VC. So about investment, we do believe that that cross-border, as opposed to direct overseas investment, remain the focus of China-based VCs. And I think even this week we made I think two VC company from China, and when I look at, okay, who I should be investing in, for the VC part, they would still prefer companies with the Chinese connection, so that makes it easier for them to communicate, as well as make it easier for them to actually offer help. So on a PE part, I think there's lots of interest in the secondaries of Grab, etc., etc. So last year we also did a joint report with Central Ventures, a VC based in Southeast Asia, to look at the investment and M&A activities, and we certainly do expect the PE and M&A activities from Chinese investors in the region to grow, and maybe even grow faster than the VC activities. So number 8 is something that I find particularly interesting, and is probably even relevant for many of us. I know there's a talk about sort of lack of talent in Southeast Asia, and there's also a counter argument saying that, oh, this is not the case, we have lots of talent. The truth is, I mean, not the truth, but my perspective is, based on years of experience and operating with Chinese companies, for Chinese companies, as well as building ventures in Southeast Asia, is there's talent, but there isn't much experience in tech. So of course we can wait for the market to take its course. I think now it's already much better than a few years ago. You have people who grew with companies which came from like small startup like Grab, C, whatever, to something of tens of thousands of employees. So these people are experienced, but in China there's lots of people who are very experienced and who are tired of the 996 culture imposed by Chinese companies, and who are looking for growth elsewhere. We know that Shopee had,
Hey, Jianggan, hey, can just interrupt, because I think it's a very interesting point. Is prediction number 8?
Yeah, that's prediction number 8.
Is it the same as the previous slide? Is it linked to the previous slide, the prediction for Southeast Asia?
This one?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it linked to the fact that tech talent is coming to Southeast Asia? Which one is it? I can't see it here.
I think it's linked to the second part of number 10. More Chinese tech veterans join the region's tech measures.
Interesting, interesting. I think just for food for thought, once you go through the, I would like to go deeper into how this Southeast Asia prediction number 10 is actually linked to the Chuhai prediction number 8. That would be quite cool.
Cool. I think it's very tightly linked. I mean, in the past, if you look at the different forces of Chinese entrepreneurs and come overseas, I would say that the majority of those who came to Southeast Asia or who went to like different regions to build businesses were not mainstream, were not the people I mean, maybe it's a bit mean to say that, but they were not the top caliber tech people in China, because that was a phase where things were still developing fast in China. So if you have the opportunity, you would prefer to be in China building something much bigger than you go to a market at very early stage, unless you have long-term vision, which which as far as I know, and most people in the tech industry, especially in the internet industry, are a bit sort of hasty. They want to build things fast. They want to test business models fast. Even if they were to fail, they want to fail fast. So I think that's also linked to something we did. Let me see if I can do that. Something we did in 2020. Somewhere, yes, number 7, 2020. Sorry, not number 7, number 6.
More Chinese entrepreneurs with international exposure goes overseas. VC start to believe that Alibaba Tencent experience is no guarantee for success in overseas markets. But what do you mean? How is it linked, Jianggan? For the audience here, yeah.
Okay. If you look at many of the people who I mean, same as I described just now, who went into Indonesia, who went to India to build businesses, I would say that there's typically like a number of profiles. I mean, people sent by companies like Huawei and Baidu, who were previously stationed in those markets, or even Alibaba's UC Web, and they were building businesses after they left their respective employment. But these are the people who are not the typical like MNC people. These are the people who are very, very grown up, very aggressive, and also had quite a bit of like sort of operational experience, or especially business development experience, channel management experience in those markets. But what we're seeing is that something became a bit more mainstream. So if you ask me to draw a parallel, yeah, sorry.
So Jianggan, so if you can go back to 2021, if you just do parallel, yeah. Well, how does that? How would you?
Sorry.
How would you do the linkage between your 2020 prediction about talent going overseas, and then this, and then 2021 prediction? Just go back to the 2021 prediction page.
Yeah, this 2021 prediction page. Yep. So what happened was I think 2020 was saying that we started to see. So for instance, previously we saw the people, BD managers of Huawei in the Middle East came out to build a Middle East focused internet company. But then we see people who have the sort of MNC experience, people who have MBAs from top international schools, and these people who previously would go for a comfortable job in a consultancy or in an international company, and now they start looking at building business opportunities in the overseas markets. So that's what we saw last year. That's what we predicted last year. Of course, things were a bit slow because of the pandemic, but what we look at this year and is that I think you look at the general situation, and also I think people have a sense of wariness about about big tech companies in China. I mean, it's very tiring, right? I mean, you do 996, you have lots of pressure. So many of them are looking to say that, okay, I want a bit of life balance. I want to build things new, and of course in China things are dominated by the big guys. So let's look at what else is out there. I do know that Shopee managed to attract lots of them in 2020, and I think they're still aggressively hiring. I think lots of them are joining sort of ByteDance's overseas initiatives. So you see this happening with people who were previously working with Chinese tech companies and with maybe 4 to 5 years experience, and now they are joining the region's big tech companies. So that is also a bit different from previously. These people, I think in the previous prediction we mentioned about I think it's number 6. We mentioned about VC start to believe that that Alibaba Tencent experiences no guarantee for success in overseas markets. So at that time, you see some of these people trying to build their own companies, but what we see now is that some of them become senior executives of companies in these regions.
Okay, so this is very interesting. And then I think, Jianggan, if you can go back to 2021 prediction, this segues very nicely into 2021 prediction. You're still on 2020, Jianggan. If you go back to 2021 prediction, C reaches market cap of 200 bill. How does that? Can you tell us a bit more?
Sure. I think I have slides about this actually, because this is something that that's very interesting and also very controversial. So throughout the years, I think C went IPO in 2017, and many of you guys probably know that they went for IPO at that time, not because their business was doing exceptionally well, but because people in the private market was skeptical about the business model and wouldn't want to give them more money. So turning to public market was the way to go. You probably also know that from 2017 to I think almost the second half of 2019, the stock price of C Group remained static. So like oscillating between $9 to $15 and sometimes reaching $20. So there was lots of skepticism because people said that, okay, you are facing a large competitor called Lazada, which is owned by Alibaba. And Alibaba also invested, I think became one of the biggest shareholders of Tokopedia, which also competes against you on the C2C e-commerce front. Is the business viable? And I think the skepticism, of course, there was also skepticism about, oh, you are using a lot of free shipping, so which means you are subsidizing a lot, and that's a bottomless hole that will never turn a profit. I remember in 2018, end of 2017, I spoke with some executives of Lazada at that time. I think, yeah, and then mentioned that, okay, let's see burn, because I don't think they can burn for a long time, and when the investors are starting to question why they are burning so much, and we can go and finish them off. So that was the attitude by some of the executives back in 2017. Of course, if you look at what happened last year, not only they were still burning, the investors put lots of confidence in them. Towards the end of last year, I think their market cap reached 100 billion from 20 billion. So that's like a five times increase.
So Jianggan, just on that point, right? Do you think this will and is this reason why you think the C Group will reach 200 cap will reach 200 bill, and when? Is it in 2021? Just tell us a bit more about the predictions on this prediction.
Okay, I think 2021. So I have fairly high hopes that the stock price will double, and I do believe that they have the means to do it. So if you segment this business, they have e-commerce, which grew a lot last year, and this year, I think there's some expectation that it might not grow as fast as last year. They have the gaming business, which was doing exceptionally well. In and beyond Southeast Asia, that's also thanks to the pandemic that people couldn't go out. You probably know that some of their games were doing exceptionally well in Latin America, and that even led C Group to launch Shopee in Latin America. And also some of their game filled the void in India because India banned the competitors from China. So being a Singapore-based company, they benefited a lot. And one thing we see that they started ramping up was C-Money. You probably know that they started applying for a digital banking license beginning of last year. Beginning of last year. But the whole entity of C-Money is much more than that. Now people know that they bought a bank in Indonesia, and they're also doing quite a lot in consumer lending and buy now, pay later. So also all these businesses added together. So I think the company is still on a healthy growing trajectory, and with all these things together. So we look at public market investors, right? I mean, I do remember I was speaking with a few analysts last year, and they were saying that finally last year they believed that C would become the leading e-commerce player in Southeast Asia. Finally, they would believe that Lazada was not able to beat them.
Interesting. On this note, Jianggan, do you think, how about the other companies? Do you think Lazada, Grab would have a chance to actually hit 200 billion as well?
I'm not sure about Lazada, but I think the Grab has good potential if they manage to do their Grab financial part fairly well. I think one of our last year's predictions was that Grab financial part will become bigger than Grab ride hailing. And of course, I mean, COVID accelerated that by reducing the numbers of ride hailing quite a bit. But I think Grab now has the leading position in food delivery across Southeast Asia, and we just issued a report like last month, right? And I'm glad that some of the market participants told us that our report has the number which is the closest to the real situation in a market. We asked lots of people on the ground to get a proxy of those numbers, but if you look at Meituan in China, I mean, it's local services. They are also aggressive in payment and the financial services. I think Grab can do the same. So
interesting. So Meituan, tell me. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in there. Meituan, do you think C is going to be Meituan is like a proxy for C, for Grab, etc., in Southeast Asia? Is that a fair comparison that we can do, or reference point?
I think Meituan is a good reference point for Grab,
and C. How about C?
I think C, if you compare C, it's actually difficult to pinpoint that, like what's the reference point for C. And I saw some stupid comment from some analysts in the West saying that C is close to Amazon. I mean, what the hell? I mean, if you understand a little bit about e-commerce, you will know that it's totally different. Anyway, so
very interesting. Very interesting.
So I think it's part Alibaba, part Ant Group, and part Tencent. So if they build a synergy of all this together, it can be phenomenal.
And okay, the $1 million question: which is the company that will go IPO, will go public this year? Which is the unicorn? Which unicorn will go public? What's your sense?
Let me go back to this. Yeah, so we said that one more unicorn will go public. We know that Grab announced their intentions to go public, and we know that rumors that Tokopedia is talking to a few SPACs and also exploring the IPO route. I personally, I mean, of course, I'm not involved in those those discussions myself. If I were, I would probably not be able to tell. But anyway, so my personal, if you ask me to guess, my personal guess is that the first company to go IPO is probably Traveloka.
Oh, Traveloka, interesting. And any feedback from the participants? I think I see some investors, some startups. What's your sense? Just write down in the chat group. Who do you think is the unicorn that will go public this year? Yeah, just take your time, write it down. On that note, Jianggan, let's move to another prediction. So guys, in this call, any predictions that you are keen for Jianggan to run through for Southeast Asia 1 to 10, or the Chuhai 1 to 10? If not, I will. If not, I will go to. I will just zoom into one on the Chuhai one. Yeah.
Which one?
Okay, so I would be keen on number 7, cross-border. As opposed to direct overseas deals remains the focus of Chinese-based VC. Yeah. So tell me more about this.
I think I briefly touched upon this point. Is that many of the many of the Chinese VCs would still prefer to invest in companies with Chinese founders or with a Chinese connection. I think that's due to a number of reasons. I mean, first, they always find it easier to communicate. And the second is that they find it easier for them to help by raising more money from other Chinese capital. And also, I think the third is that there's a general sense that many of the local businesses across different regions, especially in early stages, are overvalued. So I think the investors in this group will know that they tend to benchmark about, okay, if I look at a say logistics business in Vietnam, I look at the numbers. They are compared to the numbers of the logistic companies with the same or similar business model in China. They have compared the numbers. They are compared the valuation or market cap. They realize that, okay, the one in Vietnam now is valued much higher on the if you adjust by the performance numbers, then they become very difficult for them to convince their bosses to invest in those companies. Bear in mind many of these VCs do not have a dedicated fund for overseas investment, so they take part of their pot to invest in overseas companies, and of course, when you have the same companies in China, they will obviously go for the Chinese companies because the price is cheaper.
Okay, that's cool. And I think I would like to talk about point 10. Hong Kong becomes a viable listing destination for tech companies, particularly those in Southeast Asia. Can you touch more on that? Is it linked to the funds that's coming from China in the first month of January? What is your sense? I'm sure all of us have some investment in Hong Kong one way or another.
So you guys might know that today this company called Kuaishou is a competitor of TikTok in China. When IPO this morning in Hong Kong, I think the price surged 2 times, maybe it will drop last night during the pre-market trading hours. That makes the company valued about I think $200 billion US. So the interesting thing about Hong Kong is that if you, I think I have a slide just about this. Yes. So there's lots of money from mainland flowing into Hong Kong stock market over the last month, actually. So by the time my colleague wrote this article on the 22nd of January, there were already like 160 billion flowing into Hong Kong. So the funds in China are realizing that the prices in Hong Kong are still cheaper than the prices that they have in the domestic equity markets in China. So so that pushes lots of things up, and if you look at basically the main tech companies in Hong Kong, Tencent, Meituan, and of course Alibaba is hit by something exceptional, but the major tech companies have enjoyed a surge for the last few months, and there's still a lot of liquidity that's flowing to the market. I think that creates something interesting for Southeast Asian companies to explore. Of course, I think as of now, beginning of the year is still not main focus because many of the financiers, many of the founders are not yet familiar with Hong Kong as a listing option, and of course US is quite hot at the moment as well. But we do believe that Hong Kong could become a viable option based on the liquidity, based on the investor interest, and as well as based on the proximity of Hong Kong to Southeast Asia. Oh, one last point. I think Hong Kong Stock Exchange is much less stringent compared to the US in terms of the requirements and the liabilities for companies and its directors.
Okay, I think that's interesting. Any questions from the ground on this? Okay. So how about Singapore? So let's go up to number 9. Singapore becomes further strengthens its role as the hub for Chinese companies' global operation. So I think there's a trend. I'm seeing a trend from what you're saying, Jianggan, but share a bit more about us with us.
I think Singapore has always been a place where first Chinese companies wants to set up their sort of regional operations, and it's also a place that many of the founders from Chinese companies would like to live personally, right? It's a fairly comfortable environment to live in, and that allows you access to international capital, people, etc., etc. So what we see as interesting is that many companies are looking at Singapore not only as a destination for their regional operations, like I use Singapore and my business expands to Indonesia, etc., etc. But many of them put some of their global operations in Singapore. So you all know that Tencent has been hiring quite aggressively in Singapore, and a bit of their quite a bit of the roles that they hire is actually for global operations. I think TikTok based their servers in Singapore as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Continue. Just some questions are coming in, Jianggan.
And Alibaba signs its international deals using a Singapore entities. So I think the role of Singapore as sort of head of global operations for Chinese companies is going to strengthen. I mean, especially if you think about that, what other choice do they have? They don't really have another choice. I mean, would you set up a company in Dubai? Would you set up a company in Hong Kong? So that's yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So if you can go back one slide, there's a question from Vanessa. Okay, for number 9 of your prediction in Southeast Asia, number 9 for the Southeast Asia prediction. If you can go back one slide, Jianggan.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so number 9, investors explore more creative ways to exit. Haste to deploy capital raised to make room for larger funds. So question from Vanessa is that, can you give some examples of creative exit strategies? It's a very good question.
Yep. So people already know that there's lots of SPACs having talks with companies in Southeast Asia. You would know that I mean there's companies exploring IPO as well. We talked about the potential opportunity to IPO in Hong Kong. And but the macro backdrop is that also I think the secondaries market and for companies like Grab have been very active. I think even the secondaries for Gojek started to become active just last few weeks. I mean, previously there was not much interest about secondary shares of Gojek. So lots of investors invested in these companies in 2015, 2016, and even before, and they are looking for ways to exit, and of course also making room for future investments. So there will be ways being explored, and I think if you look at the Gojek and Tokopedia merger, so it's a way to create a macro Indonesian story which allows the company to be attractive to the capital market. Although I think from operational point of view, I think both companies are under pressure from their regional rivals.
Any other creative ways that you're observing or you think will happen in 2021?
When I say it's creative, is you only see it when people started when people are looking to find a solution to something, and you will see the creative ways as they emerge. I find it difficult to predict what other ways they can find, but you will see interesting things happening.
Okay, fair enough. How about go to number 6? EdTech hit health tech hype will wane and stronger players will survive. Tell us more.
I think there was quite a bit interest in EdTech, health tech, and part of the reason is that people were saying that, okay, now it's the pandemic, people can't move, and of course there's lots of demand for healthcare services, for educational services, and especially in many places people can't go to schools, right? People can't go to hospitals. So that created hype, and lots of players came in, and but then if you look at every single hype, you will win at some point of time, and most of the players who are not strong would probably go nowhere.
What's your sense of what's your, just very quickly, what's your sense of a strong player? What kind of criteria would they need? And questions are coming in, so I will need to move this along.
Okay, strong player would be the ones which manage to retain their customers without government subsidy. Put it that way.
Okay, interesting. Okay, moving on. Edward has a question. So, hi Jianggan, what will happen in the future if places like Singapore, China, Hong Kong, US are saturated with tech companies? And what is your view on this, since these countries are getting more and more saturated with tech companies? What's your sense?
Okay, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and US are saturated with tech companies. I think so there's one concept which is talked a lot in China now that they call involution, which means that when competition becomes fierce, when further growth opportunities become scarce, people spend more resources to achieve like a slimmer results. But I personally don't think that would be the case. I personally think that if you look at the historical evolution of tech, every time there's this new thing coming up which enables everything, right? I mean, we have seen a wave of web, of mobile internet, of data, and now with 5G, you have more opportunities emerge and more business models now become possible. So I wouldn't say that it would be saturated, but of course, I mean, if more tech companies are in these places, I think the bigger challenge is to the more traditional companies, right? I mean, are they still able to attract and retain talent? Since I think most young, promising talent would want to work in tech companies.
Okay, so Edward, let us know if you answer your question. Then there's this question from Binkin. My curiosity for number 8 of your Southeast Asia prediction: what is the motivation for investors returning to Malaysia?
I personally always think that I mean, Malaysia is an interesting market, and I think according to the report we did with Central Ventures, so investors who invest in Malaysia, for those who have already exited, would have the best ROI. And if you go back in history, if you look at the first wave of internet before the mobile age, there were quite a number of web-based tech companies in Malaysia which achieved like a 500 million and above exits. But somehow, I mean, last few years you see lots of money going to Indonesia and Vietnam, and Malaysia was relatively overlooked. But we still have the belief that Malaysia is somewhere very, very interesting because it has the infrastructure that's better than many other countries, and it has the it has the talent, which is hungry, sometimes a bit cynical. It it has the it has something that the Singapore would not be able to do in terms of being a test base for the region, right? Because I mean, part of the fabric of the society resembles the rest of the region more than what you would see in Singapore, which is entirely urban. So I do believe that that Malaysia is a good destination to build regional companies, and especially I think many of the entrepreneurs in Malaysia speak Chinese. They should be able to tap into the experience from China more effectively.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have time for 1-2 more questions. So Jianggan, if you go to the next slide, let's focus a bit more on Chuhai. See whether or not anybody else has any questions. Yeah, because I do know we have some friends from China, from the Chinese background in this call. Any questions from anyone, or any particular prediction you want to jump into, Jianggan, that you feel strongly about?
I just do think that that if you ask for keywords, I think Southeast Asia and e-commerce are probably the most exciting segments that we'll see this year. Southeast Asia, I mean, I've already explained, but e-commerce, because the volume of e-commerce has grown to a great extent, that now many things that you couldn't do previously because the volume was too small now becomes possible. So you will see more innovation coming up, and something extended to e-commerce is the food delivery part, right? I mean, so you now start seeing that. Food and consumer brands. You now see Chinese consumer brands starting to explore Southeast Asia, first by leveraging the e-commerce platforms. So I'll see more and more of these activities coming this year. But of course, it will be trial and error. Not everyone can succeed.
Okay, thank you very much. Any closing words from you, Jianggan?
I think I think the purpose of this this prediction is to put forward some of our thoughts about market, and of course over the course of this year we will sort of reflect on these things, and it's also a way for us to challenge ourselves, and we hope that that the ecosystem, the community will challenge us. I mean, some of the things that you don't believe, some of the things you think is not right, just write to us, talk to us, and we hope that we reach some depth about understanding about the market beyond what is seen in headlines in media.
Okay, any advice for the startup, the entrepreneurs, the investors, the corporates, the innovators, the rebels in this group?
Stay hungry.
And order food from food delivery players. Okay.
And keep your eyes open, right? I do feel that that over the past few years there was lots of talk about experiences from China, but I do believe that I mean, from the people I've spoken to, their understanding about the things are still relatively at headline level or one level deeper, but there's lots of things that people can take a reference from product to operations to tech to marketing. So not necessarily replicating, but there's interesting lessons that you can learn from to advance your business further.
Okay. On this note, I just want to let you know, guys, this has been a fast session. This video will be actually uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back to any section, you can. We will be doing a write-up about this session on our blog. And if you're not already a member of a newsletter, we will take the liberty to add you onto this newsletter so you can actually see what we write, and then take a look out for this blog on this event. And if you have any burning questions that you did not have time to raise here, please reach out to us at hello@mworks.asia. We'll be happy to reach out to you for actual coffee if you're in Singapore, or virtual coffee if you're outside Singapore, and let's continue this conversation. Okay. On this note, I want to thank Jianggan for taking the time out today to hang out with us, and thank you all for joining today's session. I hope it was helpful. Okay. Thank you, and happy Friday. Thank you.
bye bye. For those who celebrate New Year, happy Lunar New Year.